Hey everybody, this is Mad Matt Carter. Thank you so much for watching the AIWF Network YouTube channel, as well as the AIWF Ringside Wrestling channel. If you like what you see, please do us a big favor. Hit that like button, hit subscribe, and ring that bell to get notifications every time we post new videos on both our channels. It means a lot to us, and thanks a lot for watching once again.
What is the quote? You take the powder.
If you don't like it, you take a powder.
That's what it was.
Like when Jim Ross told Paulie Dangerously in the early 90s. And we didn't know what that meant, but we knew he wasn't supposed to say it. Like you could tell that Paulie Dangerously, you could tell that Paul Heyman was surprised by what he said and was like, Are you telling me to leave? Like you could tell that he was genuinely like, wait, are you really telling me that to leave?
I remember what he called him stupid on Starcade. You know, I know that's stupid.
I've been watching a lot of old WCW. I've been watching Uncensored 96.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
And like and that's the thing about Tony Schiavone when he was with Bobby Heenan, is I could never tell if he really hated Bobby Heenan or if it was part of the show, because sometimes he would say things and he would just sound so exasperated that you just felt like a little twinge of that sounds like might have a teeny bit of realism in it. So
I don't know if Tony hated.
Schiavone was like a robot. He always had the same facial expression, almost the same tone of voice.
You talking about? Sorry.
I don't know if Tony hated Bobby, but I can confirm Bobby hated Tony.
Oh yeah, he sure did. You know, because if you watch those Bobby Heenan shoot interviews from the early 2000s, he is not nice to Tony Schiavone. He was not nice to him in his book. And here's the thing: after Bobby recorded all that shit, him and Tony ran in, and I learned this from the Tony Schiavone podcast. They actually worked together on a video game late in 2002 and made up in the hallway. But that was after Bobby's book had come out and he had recorded all this other stuff. And Bobby Heenan told Tony, call me. And Tony never called him until after he got sick. And when he was so sick that he couldn't talk, and Bobby's wife told him he can't come to the phone, he's too sick. And like, he told you to call him 15 years ago and you didn't, which I feel two ways about that. The phone works both ways, not on just one person to call the other. Like if you really want to talk to somebody, you'll pick up the phone and call them.
Yeah.
Or at least shoot them a text and say, hey, are you free? And then call them. This notion that the phone doesn't work both ways is crazy to me. And I hate that. But Tony Schiavone, if you listen to his podcast, is a flake. And I like him. He's one of my favorite people in the world. I met him one time. He was very nice at one of his live shows here in Charlotte. But he comes off as kind of flaky. Like he doesn't really like associate with people, you know, away from work. You know, I don't know. He just seems like his only real friend is David Crockett, honestly. You know,
I can tell you though, one of the really real reasons I really like Tony Schiavone as an announcer, he never said negative stuff about women, even if the commentators around him did.
Well, yeah.
And I just felt, I don't know why, I don't know if it's part of the show, that was his character, but I always liked that. Like somebody might say something terrible about a woman and he would kind of move it away and he would never really build off of it, which I, you know, as a woman appreciated.
If he said something like that, Lois would kick his ass when he came home. Right? You know,
well, he always struck me as I'm right by the script.
Yeah,
yeah.
He,
you know what I'm saying? He don't waver, and his tie is always too tight, like it's choking him.
I think like a lot of. I think a lot of that comes from where he was a baseball announcer before he came in.
Yeah,
it's almost the Gordon Soley being a professional sports broadcaster that got brought into wrestling instead of I'm going to start in wrestling and then go to broadcasting something else.
Well, I was raised on Mid Atlantic, so really up until the internet.
Yeah.
Wrestling magazines tell you everything you need to know about a wrestler, but nothing about the announcers, the show hosts, the commentators. And up until YouTube, all I ever knew was, the Crockett's, the anybody work for WCW, NWA, that's all I knew.
Yeah.
But now that YouTube is out there, my new favorite announcer is Lance Russell, hands down. Nobody compares to him.
Lance had a lot of Gordon Soley with.
Yes, he did.
Lance had a lot of Gordon Soley with him. Lance is invulnerable. I mean, you couldn't touch him. You weren't going to. And Lance Russell was not above pulling the ring bell hammer to threaten the heel.
And Jimmy Hart wrote a song about his nose and recorded it. If you've never seen, look it up on the internet. It's called Lance Russell's Nose by Jimmy Hart. It's hilarious.
Well, the thing I like about Lance Russell was, so I'm watching old Memphis stuff now, like from the early 80s. They were on 81. Is that he was almost like just a normal person talking about wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
And he would stand up to the wrestler and be like, "Oh, now you just don't need to come out here and do that.
Mm-hmm.
You just need to stay in the back because we're trying to do it." He would it's like he would argue with them.
Yeah, they conducted that show like him and Dave Brown, like it was a news program.
Yes.
Yeah, even more so. And I always thought when I was a kid that Bob Caudle and Johnny Weaver that was the news for wrestling for that week, But like when you watch that old Memphis stuff, no, that was the fucking news. And I bet you every little kid in that territory thought the same way. The only thing I hate about the Memphis stuff though is the program originally when it aired in Memphis was a 90-minute program. And when it got bicycled out to Evansville and all the other places in the territories, it was only an hour. And so some of that stuff on YouTube, you're missing 30 minutes of it because it'll say, this is from the Evansville tape, or this was taped in Kentucky, or whatever. Or this is the Nashville show. And so, but that's
the Lance Russell, the Lance voiceover of the concession stand brawl is quite possibly one of the best calls I've ever heard in wrestling. I mean, just period.
He talked to the wrestlers the way the fans would like to talk to the wrestlers.
Yeah.
And that's what I liked about him.
Yeah, Lance.
I mean, he was like he was on the fans level. So Lance Russell's my new favorite now. So.
And nothing against Tony Schiavone, and I'm not trying to insult him when I call him a flake, but that's the way his personality seems to me, is just kind of flaky. Doesn't mean I don't like him. Doesn't mean I have any ill will toward him. Like I said, when I met him, he was very nice. I mean, but of course, I paid a hefty sum to go to that show and get those pictures taken. So, I'd be nice to me too if I'd handed me that much money.
Yeah, but not everybody else. No, but not everybody is though.
But you know what I will give Tony Schiavone credit for? He saw my wife, who is not at the time, because this is before wrestling's resurgence has happened in the last 2 years, right? This was probably 17, 18. And there were not a lot of females that came to that show. And especially not, I don't know how to put this, smaller, normal size women that were there. And I'm trying to do this delicately as possible, but
not people of Walmart women.
Yeah, there you go. Very well done. Thank you, sir.
Yes.
Anytime, see, that's why it was fun doing commentary with Stephen Hayes too. He could get you out of when you got stuck. He could get you out of it. All right, so, but he could tell that she had come because she was supporting me, not because she wanted to be there. And he was very nice to her. And he said, "Look, I know this is not where you want to be today, but I really appreciate you coming. It means a lot." And that meant a lot to me because, he knew that she was just coming along to support me. And so, yeah, that was real cool. So, but let me not try to make people think I'm trashing Tony Schiavone.
No, we could trash we could trash Vern Gagne.
Anytime you want to.
We can trash, oh God.
For what? Being a
Not Mike
bad
Kelly.
promoter or a bad announcer?
Bad announcer.
Oh.
Woo! Woo, it was bad.
I ain't got into AWA yet.
Yeah, I'm not going to after hearing Reagan talk about it. I don't want to watch that shit. Give me a headache.
It's terrible. He was the one that did the commentating. He did it before the ESPN stuff too. But we've already mentioned on the pod the thing about Dennis Condry's kerchief, and he was like, I don't know why he's wearing that kerchief in the ring. Somebody's going to use it and strangle him or something like that. And